Yo, what's going on everybody? It's Freaky299 and welcome to Destiny 2 The Edge of Fate and my first build of the new saga. Of course, the campaign has just dropped. It's day one. You're looking to get that legendary campaign done. And if you're on Titan, well, I have a build for you. Of course, there's been plenty of changes to the stat system, to a lot of things, to the number crunching, to power. It's a lot. And of course, you need something that's going to get you going right now into the legendary campaign, not worrying about artifacts or anything like that, just something that'll set you right on the path. So, of course, with all my builds, there's going to be a picture at the end of the video, along with a dim link in the description for easy copying. Without further ado, let's jump into the build. So, starting off with the subclass, we are going to be using Prismatic for our Titan. Prismatic absolutely crushes any piece of content, and of course, there's going to be plenty of other builds you can use. I just found Prismatic to be the most enjoyable. For the super, I'm using Twilight Arsenal, but of course, you can use any super you like. Twilight Arsenal I personally found to be very effective, as usually we can one-hit a lot of stuff, but we don't have a lot of range. So if you use something like Blade Fury or Glacial Quake, you're still running into the same problem if there's a Servitor and he's way above and you have to hit him. This is why Twilight Arsenal is fantastic, as it also weakens enemies, allowing us to pick up those axes, get extra damage off, maybe throw in a rocket. It's beautiful. Moving on from there, I am using Thruster. Now, of course, you can use Rally Barricade if you're looking for a little bit more of a defensive playstyle, but with this build, we are full on into melee, so I use Thruster. That way we can quickly activate our class ability, get any bonuses that we would from activating it, and keep going with our Consecration loop. For our melee, we are of course grabbing Frenzied Blade. It has 3 charges, allowing us to consecrate 3 times in a row, as well as we can just use it to get a good chunk of Darkness Transcendence energy generated, as well as it severs enemies, so if we're ever in danger, we can also use it to just lower our enemies' damage and survive. For a grenade, I've been using Glacier Grenade. It's wonderful, it has some extra Darkness Transcendence energy, it just sets up a whole line of stasis crystals that we just shatter through with our Consecration, adding tons of extra damage, and then because we're also rocking Facet of Ruin, which makes it so our shattered stasis crystals have increased damage and size. For our aspects, we are going to be grabbing Knockout as our first one, of course. Critically wounding a target or breaking their shields infuses our melee attacks with arc energy and increases our melee range and damage for a short time, as well as defeating targets with melee attacks makes us amplified and restores a portion of our health. Defeating more powerful combatants increases the amount of health restored. This allows us to stay in the fray, constantly be punching enemies even when we don't have Consecration, and then as soon as we get a melee charge, we can go in, consecrate, and that'll also activate Knockout, which will heal us. This just allows for infinite healing, infinite amplified applied to us. It allows for amazing survivability. And then of course we are using Consecration. You run forward, you slide, you hit your melee button, you send up a wave of solar energy, and then you come slamming down and ignite that solar energy that hit any of the enemies and scorch them, and kaboom, they blow up. With Synthoceps, man, they all just get deleted. It's a beautiful combo, it's worked for the past year, and guess what? It's working for the Legendary campaign. Down to the fragments, I am using Facet of Purpose, so whenever I pick up an Orb of Power, I'm granting myself a Void Overshield. You can also rock a different super for one of the different buffs. I like this just because it's an extra layer of damage reduction. If you find that you have no issue with surviving, then you of course can swap this over to a Facet of Sacrifice to generate some extra Darkness Transcendence energy. For our second fragment, I'm using Facet of Protection, so while surrounded by combatants, we are more resistant to incoming damage, and while Transcendent, the effect is increased. Just a wonderful bonus to have, as there's lots of close quarters areas here. We're using Facet of Balance, so rapidly defeating targets with light damage will grant us melee energy. Consecration is all light, so that's beautiful. And then what darkness damage we deal will grant us grenade energy. And then finally, Facet of Ruin, which increases the size and damage of the burst when we shatter a stasis crystal or frozen target, and increases the area of effect of solar ignitions. Our grenade and our Consecration both beautifully get amplified by tons of damage and just melt everything. Nothing survives this, and if it's a final boss, well, 3 consecrations and it's usually done, as well as a Twilight Arsenal. So, that's going to do it for the subclass. Moving on to the weapons. Starting out with our main exotic of choice, we are going to be using Monte Carlo. Of course we're using Monte Carlo. It's a melee build, it's prismatic consecration. Monte Carlo makes it so whenever we're dealing damage with the gun, it's giving us melee energy generation. And then whenever we get takedowns with it, it has a chance to fully give us a melee charge. This is wonderful as we have 3 melee charges that are constantly in use. The faster we can get our melee charges back, the more we can use them and the more we can melt everything. As well as Monte Carlo is just a fantastic auto rifle. It has a built-in damage increase with Markov chains, so the more takedowns you get, or even just a single melee kill, will give you full stacks and allow for a huge damage increase. It's a beautiful weapon, but of course you need to pair it with some other things. I personally am going to recommend some close quarters weaponry, specifically some shotguns. There's going to be lots of points where you are in close quarters. There's going to be captains, yellow bars, tons of stuff in your face. You're going to want a shotgun to just take an enemy down. There's a new one from this expansion with Pressapile, but there's plenty of old shotguns that I'm sure you have sitting in your vault. If you want as well, you can use something like a fusion rifle for a little bit extra range, but I would also consider having on hand a glaive. Glaives are a lot of fun, and with melee damage getting hugely buffed with Edge of Fate, you're going to want to try out a glaive with close to melee on it. Me personally, I have Judgment of Kelgarath with Pugilist and close to melee, and that melted through enemies with Synthoceps on. And then of course for a heavy weapon, I recommend a linear fusion rifle just to take out some pesky servitors, but also a rocket launcher is going to do you wonders just to clear out some groups of enemies, as we have plenty of times where we can just consecrate and melt through tons of enemies, but there's going to be little groups of enemies at a range, at a distance, and having a rocket launcher means you can just fire it, boom, blow them up, and keep consecrating without worrying about any snipers or anything. So that's going to do it for the weapons. Now we're quickly going to touch on the artifact mods. Now, of course, you do not need your artifact maxed out at all for Legendary Campaign. With this build, you are good to just jump in as is without the artifact upgraded and beat it start to finish. But if you do have your artifact upgraded a little bit and you're looking for some suggestions, here's what I'd recommend. Firstly, Flame Fiber and Freeze in second column. This combines the Solar Strand and Solar Stasis Siphon mods into one, and this allows us to take a Solar Stasis Siphon mod, allowing us to rock a lot more weaponry. We're also going to be grabbing Tightly Woven, so while we have Woven Mail and it's active, we gain increased class ability and grenade stats. For the third column, we're going to be grabbing Fever and Chill, so rapid precision hits with solar weapons grant Radiant, and rapid precision hits with stasis weapons grant Frost Armor. We're also going to be grabbing Refresh Threads, so whenever we pick up one of our fire sprites, we're going to be getting a little bit of extra energy to our least charged ability. For a fourth column, we're going to be picking up Cauterized Darkness. So Stasis and Strand debuff non-boss combatants take increased solar damage from all sources. This means that our Glacier Grenade and when we sever enemies with our Frenzied Blade, they take more damage from Consecration, which is just a huge buff. We love Consecration, and any extra damage is going to go a long way. We're also going to grab Shoulder to Shoulder, so dealing sustained precision damage against combatants while near 2 or more allies will grant us damage resistance, another extra bonus, as well as Elemental Coalescence. Defeating targets has the chance to create an elemental pickup matching our equipped super element, which is going to be, well, whatever our equipped super element is. If it's Void, it's going to be Void Breaches. For fifth column, we're going to be picking up Shield Crush, so while we have Woven Mail or our Void Overshield, our melee is going to be recharging faster and deal increased damage, and then while we're Amplified or Radiant, we're always Amplified, our Grenade will recharge faster and deal increased damage. And then we're also going to be picking up Tangled Web, so creating a tangle by defeating a strand debuff target suspends nearby combatants. Now that's going to do it for the artifact. Moving on to the actual armor that we're going to be wearing. For the helmet, I've been using double hands on, so we gain bonus super energy on melee takedowns, We're getting lots of melee takedowns, so we're going to be benefiting tons from this. And then also I've been using super font. So while we have an armor charge, our super is going up by plus 20, I believe. I believe they changed the actual stats for the font systems, and the new one is actually plus 20. Down to the gauntlets, we are going to be using Synthoceps. It's beautiful, it's the best, it's amazing. Biotic enhancements. While we're surrounded, we gain increased melee and super damage, as well as improved weapon handling and reload speed. This just means that, we're constantly dealing tons and tons of damage. Our Consecration is getting massively buffed. Our Frenzied Blade massively buffed. Our regular punch, even our glaive. It's all synergizing so well. And yeah, it's a melee Consecration prismatic build. It's been used by plenty of people all the year, but hey, there's a reason it works. And for a legendary campaign where you're trying to get through it and you're trying to get to that raid day, well, you're gonna need it. So, besides that, for the gauntlets, we are using double impact induction, so causing damage with a powered melee attack reduces our grenade cooldown. With the amount of times we throw out melees, we benefit a lot from getting our grenade back, and this is pretty much our primary way of getting our grenade back. And then we also have heavy-handed, so all those melee takedowns are generating orbs of power. This is on a 10-second delay, I believe, so it's not going to be every takedown, but it'll be enough that you're benefiting a lot from those orbs, getting healing, all that good stuff. For the chest piece, I'm just rocking a Void Arc and Solar Resistance, all three flat. Of course, you can swap in a Strand or a Stasis Resistance in there, but so far that's what I've been using and it's worked so well. There's tons of enemies dealing all sorts of damage to you, and yeah, there's a lot of new Strand and Stasis damage being dealt, so you might want to watch out for that. Down to the boots, I've just been using double invigoration and then recuperation. So every time we pick up an orb of power, we're getting a little bit of health, and then we're also getting a ton of melee energy. So we're constantly just getting more and more concentrations. And then finally for the class item, we're using double outreach and then a proximity ward. So whenever we use our class ability, we're reducing our melee cooldown even more. And then proximity ward, so whenever we're doing a finisher, we have an overshield just to allow us to survive a little bit longer if we're in any dangerous situations. And then going on to the stats. Now for the stats, you primarily want to focus melee. Melee you want as high as possible, because at 100, melee has the most amount of melee energy increase from all sources, which is 190%. This applies to our Monte Carlo, to our Fast to Balance. Anything that is applying melee energy regen is getting buffed up by your melee stat being higher. So it being at 100 means we're getting the most melee energy possible, and we can throw out the most concentrations. Now second, we want it even higher than 100 because we want the enhanced benefit, which increases the actual damage of our melee. Now, I'm personally at 150 currently. This is with all base armor, nothing new, none of the new seasonal armor or anything like that. This is what I went into Edge of Fate with. I'm at 150 melee stat, and this gives me a 15% damage increase in PvE. Now that is huge. It's not absolutely, going to break the game, but still, every bit calculates and gets better and better and allows us to nuke legendary content with ease, which is what you're looking for with this build. So, melee stat, you want that as high as possible. Now, being a Titan, my second highest stat was health. Health is honestly not that bad to have high. Health having a higher stat means that every time you pick up an orb of power, it gives you more health. As well as your higher health stat, you have more flint resistance. Anything higher than 100, that gives you shield recharge rate and shield health. Both are wonderful for a melee build. So right now my two highest stats are melee and then health, which is beautiful because we're picking up orbs and we're constantly using our melee. So all that melee energy we're generating is fueling right back into concentration, and then all the orbs that we're generating, well, we're getting the health whenever we need it, so we can swing by, pick it up, activate knockout. We have plenty of healing sources that we never go down. And then third, my grenade stat is the highest. Now, of course, as things go on here, I might switch things up. For this build, what I personally would recommend as the stats you focus, if you have the ability to focus them, is melee, health, and then class. If you get your class stat higher, then that means you can actually benefit from stuff like It's a beautiful build. I'm loving playing it, and it'll guarantee you a legendary campaign completion right out the gate. Nothing else. Purely base going into Edge of Fate. So, of course, with all my builds, there's going to be a picture on screen for easy copying, as well as a dim link in the description below if you like to copy from there. And, well, it's a new time. It's a new fate. It's Saga. It's a new age of Destiny, which means new builds. I'm going to have a build for the Warlock and the Hunter for Legendary Campaign right out the gate. No artifact or stats or anything like that. Just purely the weapons and armor and subclass. I'll have that going up soon enough. Expect that by tomorrow. It's taken me some time to get through the campaign, and I'm still knocking out a couple extra things. But expect a full playthrough of the campaign. Sneak peek, it's gonna be a couple hours long, but expect a full playthrough of the campaign video, and then a video for Warlock and Hunter builds for Legendary Campaign. And then from there, well, I'll probably roll out a couple more. Raid Race. It's a lot. There's a lot of exciting things, but expect more builds sooner than you think. Other than that, this has been my beautiful Titan build that'll get you through Legendary Edge of Fate campaign. Thank you everybody so much for watching. My name has been FreakyDude99, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.